I have been up since 6 in the morning. And I need to be up at 7 tomorrow. Early this morning, my dogs woke me up at 6 a.m. on the dot to take care of them. That alone took like 20 minutes. Let them outside, wipe his butt, feed them. And then I went back into bed, tried to get as much rest as I could. The moment I began to doze off, well, time to get up again. Because I had to get up at 8:45 for a phone interview at 9 a.m. A phone interview for another job. And, well, because of that phone interview, tomorrow morning, I need to go in at 9:20 a.m. That means I need to wake up extra early before that time to get ready. I need to wake up with enough time for the rest of my body to wake up. So, I can take a dump in the morning so I don't have to have the urges during the job interview or whatever. So, I need to wake up extra early just to get ready, do my morning routine, shower, wash my hair. And then I also need enough time to actually get there. It's like a 20-minute drive. So that's why tomorrow I need to wake up at around 7, give myself plenty of time to get ready. So yeah, been up since 6 with like tiny, and I mean tiny little hints of rest. And tomorrow I gotta be up by around 7. When I got home from work, I tried to take a quick little power nap. However, because I'm the only one in the house who knows how to use the air fryer, I couldn't just lie down and rest until dinner. I had to get up, work the air fryer, lie down, 15 minutes later, get back up to flip what was in there, and then rest. So I got very little rest. Same thing. Once I began to doze off, nope, time to get up for dinner. So I wanted to do this a little bit earlier tonight. I started at 9:45. I wanted to start at 9:30. That way I could end early and just head straight to bed. Already pretty tired today, and I need to get up early. So I wanted to start early so I can end early. However, after dinner, after I finished cleaning the dishes, I had to bathe my dog again. Now, I was debating, do I just leave him for, say, tomorrow? Because tomorrow, my thought process is, I gotta wake up so early, I gotta go do a job interview at 9 in the morning. Maybe I can get a little bit of slack. I come back, I sleep, because remember, family biz, so my mom and sister can just take care of it while I'm not there. Besides, it's not busy during the weekdays. So I'm thinking, after the job interview, I come home, I rest for a bit, I wake up, I bathe my dog then before I go out, if I even need to go out, considering it's not that busy during weekdays. But then, I decided to clean him tonight before doing this, because, he's still my dog, and I can't just leave him with a dirty butt, especially overnight, so I had to clean him. Take care of the important things first. Get the important things done first before you do what you want to do, being this. And you know what? It's a pretty damn good thing I decided to bathe him tonight instead of leaving it for tomorrow, because it was pretty dirty back there. The problem with older dogs, or at least problem with my old dog, is that, the turds just don't fall on the ground all the time. Sometimes they just ball and clump up all back there. So it leaves a huge mess. And, well, that was the case tonight. Almost all of it was stuck on his butt. So it's a good thing I decided to bathe him tonight instead of leaving it for tomorrow. So anyways, I have a lot to talk about today. I don't have a lot of energy to spare. And I feel hints of a very small throbbing headache. So let's get into it. So lots of things to talk about today. First, I want to tell you guys a quick story about something that happened a couple days ago. Specifically, I think Sunday. Today's Tuesday, so this happened a couple days ago on Sunday. Unrelated, this happened just before my brother-in-law's family came over for dinner. So we were hosting dinner that night. So right as we were getting ready, we were preparing dinner, we were preparing the table and everything. So on the counter, we had an opened bag of Kirkland's signature chocolate-covered almonds. And, you know, my fat ass wanted one. So I went over, I looked in the bag, and to my horror, there was a house centipede just sitting in there. I literally jumped back. I'm just glad I had the foresight to look in the bag first, rather than blindly reaching my hand in and feeling something spiky and moving. So, yeah, thankfully I had the foresight to look in the bag first, because there was a house centipede on top of all the chocolate-covered almonds. Now, there lies a big problem. Normally, whenever I encounter one of those disgusting pests in my house, I grab my bug jar, I try to capture it, and I release it outside. But in this case, that's a little bit harder to do, because it's on top of a bunch of chocolate. What I did not want to do was, pour it out and risk a chocolate almond falling on the floor for my dogs to unknowingly eat. What I also didn't want to do was maybe, pour it into a sink. Honestly, I could have done that. But, I told my family, there's a centipede in the bag of chocolates. What they did, because the bag had, a Ziploc kind of seal on top, they sealed the bag shut and just threw it away. They didn't throw it out just yet. It was sitting on the washing machine, getting ready to be thrown out to the garbage bin outside. I was debating, do I open that bag, try to separate the centipede from the chocolate, grab my bug jar? Obviously, we're not going to eat the almonds with the centipede removed, because what if the centipede laid eggs, right? All those almonds, all those chocolate-covered almonds are gone. And it was a pretty filled bag, too. There was still a good amount in there. There was 2/3 of the bag still there. Ultimately, I decided, nah, I don't want to risk it. I don't want to risk, opening the bag, the centipede rushing outwards, maybe, crawling on my hand, I jump, I make a mess, I drop chocolate everywhere with 2 dogs running around. I didn't want to risk it. Alternatively, what I could have done is take the bag of chocolates outside, open the bag of chocolate outside, and just let the centipede potentially crawl out. I did not want to do that, just in case. Because not only do I have dogs, neighbors have dogs. I don't want to accidentally leave one outside for a neighboring dog to eat and then die. I didn't want that to happen, potentially. So I sadly just left that house centipede to die inside a bag of chocolate-covered almonds. I feel bad for, the garbage man one day. Once that bag is thrown out, they're going to open the bag and see there's a dead centipede carcass on top of a bunch of chocolate-covered almonds. It's a jump scare. Because I know if I was doing that for a job, I opened the bag and I saw that, I would be jump scared. Even if it is dead. And my gut really wanted to separate everything. I wanted to separate the centipede from everything else, dump all of the chocolate almonds into the compost, and then, throw the bag in the garbage. You know, I prefer to separate compost, you know, food items from garbage. I prefer to separate it. That's just me. You know, especially during summer, the summer heat makes anything biodegradable rot and stink. So probably best to just separate everything. I don't suppose people really enjoy, you know, garbage landfills stink of rotten food just because the food items weren't separated into the compost. So yeah, I really wanted to separate the chocolate into the compost and then just throw out the bag in the garbage. However, I was just too scared of the centipede inside. So, no dice on that. So that happened a couple days ago. So, breaking news yesterday, and wow, this is really not what I expected to wake up to. Yesterday on the news, it was announced, or reported, I should say, reported that former President Joe Biden has cancer, has prostate cancer. What kind of timeline are we living in? I'll tell you, we could have lived in a much different, much poorer timeline, potentially. Think about this. If Biden never dropped out of the race, keep in mind I'm Canadian, so American politics, I don't have any part of that. Imagine if Biden did not drop out of the race, and he ran again and potentially won. Well, we could have had term 2 of President Biden right now, and it be announced that he has cancer. And, you know, God forbid anything happens to the president. If Harris was still vice president, then she would be made new sitting president. I don't think that would have been good for the world. So, yeah, crazy world we live in. Biden has prostate cancer. Really did not expect that. Well, wishing him the best of luck. Hoping he has a good recovery. So, something I want to correct myself on that I said last time. Last time, I was talking about Pokemon Go and how Shadow Regigigas Raid Day, I got 1 shiny and 11 non-shiny. And I said, that just means it's 11 Regigigases that I will eventually need to pair... I will eventually need to purify and transfer to Pokemon Home to make space. Yeah, I kind of failed to realize you kind of cannot transfer purified Pokemon to Pokemon Home. At least when I tried to do that, it didn't work. Then again, when I did do that, I was sending purified Pokemon, Gen 1, trying to send it to Ramonis Park. What? Ramonis? Go Park, or whatever it's called, in Let's Go. So maybe that was the reason why it didn't work. I don't know. I'll still have to look into can you transfer purified Shadow Pokemon. But if you cannot, well, my bad. Guess the only way to make space is to just transfer them. We shall see. What else did I have to say? Today we got a small little teaser for Zootopia 2. Jesus, when did Zootopia 1 come out? Didn't that come out like 9 or 10 years ago? Zootopia came out... Why can't I see a release date? March 4th, 2016, so 9 years ago. That's kind of crazy, 9 years ago, 2016! And we're only now getting a sequel. Well, I enjoyed the first Zootopia film, so I'm looking forward to the second one. Looks like the second one has a big emphasis on this new snake character. It almost, from the small little teaser trailer we got, it almost seems like the snake character is potentially framed for a crime and is innocent, because we see Nick and Judy constantly going with this snake character and are being chased by law enforcement. So it seems like they're on the run as well. I don't see why two cops would be on the run from other cops unless they're trying to protect a suspect who is innocent. You know? Let's see. So yesterday, before I talk about what I did yesterday night, instead of shiny hunting Dialga, yesterday I actually saw a lot of people. At first, one friend showed up to visit me at work, and then No Shame in Feeding came to visit me at work. He also brought along a fellow friend of ours from high school. I think it was like his childhood friend, but I didn't meet him until, we were all in high school together. And I don't know if I would really call me and him friends, because the two of us, we basically just know each other, and that's about it. I mean, we're friendly towards each other, I think. I never got the vibe that I was really liked by him. Then again, I don't get the vibe that I'm liked by a lot of people. Not many people like me. And to my surprise, even though I really shouldn't be surprised, No Shame in Feeding's friend brought along his girlfriend as well. And I can tell it was probably his girlfriend and not like a sister because they were holding hands. I didn't know dude had a girlfriend, and you know what? At this point, of course the fuck he does. Because everyone does besides me. Now, before you guys go on and, call me down bad, calling me, saying things about me like, dude's just desperate for a girlfriend. Look, okay? I don't think it's much of a surprise anymore for me to tell you I'm a pretty lonely guy, alright? I don't really have a lot of people to talk to. I don't really have anyone to talk to, really. My family is out of the question. A conversation with my dad leads to a lecture, and trying to talk to my mom or sister, they just zone me out to the point where they basically just straight up and ask me to leave and do my own things. So talking with my family's out of the question. Yes, I talk with my friends, but it's just like basic general chatting, None of my friends have the same interests that I do. So I got no one to talk to about things that excite me. A new show announced, a new movie announced, a new game. I don't really have anyone to talk to about that stuff because no one really shares the same interests that I do. Like, none of my friends play Zelda, so when a new Zelda game comes out, it's like, oh my god, who can I share this with? I want to talk to this about, I don't even know what I'm saying. And then I realized, oh, none of my friends play Zelda. I got no one to talk to about this. The same goes for like a new Kirby game, a new Marvel movie, a new DC movie, a new Walking Dead spin-off show. I got no one to talk to, really. So here I am, sitting alone, seeing everyone around me being all lovey-dovey in their couples, and here I am just like, well, keeping everything and anything to myself just because, well, no one to talk to. And that's, yeah, I don't see that changing at all in the future. Okay. So, yesterday night, this happened right as I was about to leave work. Believe me, I was all ready to, shiny hunt Dialga. I keep almost instinctively saying shiny hunt Zygarde. I was all ready to shiny hunt Dialga yesterday. I was finishing up the episode of The Boys. I was gonna watch From next. And then, after dinner, after doing the dishes, I was gonna sit my ass here and shiny hunt Dialga. That was originally the plan for last night. But then, last night, right as I was about to leave work, I get a call from my friend like, "Yo, man, you want to come over and hang out at my basement? All the guys are here." I'm just like, what? This is so abrupt. It's just out of nowhere. So, something my friends have been doing recently is doing volleyball. They book a court and they all go as a group to play volleyball. I voluntarily do not go because I don't like volleyball. I don't enjoy playing the sport. It hurts. So I don't go whenever they go for volleyball. So that's what they did yesterday. And then they were just going to go to our friend's basement to hang out. So they asked me if I wanted to tag along. I should be grateful that my friends keep me in mind, because I do always go on and on about, like, no one invites me to anything. So I should be grateful that they kept me in mind and actually extended an invite. However, it did ruin my plans. Then again, what plans were that? Shiny hunt Dialga to no one? So, at first I was under the impression that these guys wanted to go out for sushi for dinner, like go to a restaurant. But no, they were getting takeout for sushi. And I'm just like, oh, never mind, I don't want sushi. I don't really like eating sushi. However, I enjoy other things that sushi restaurants have. More of the cooked variety. And I know at that point it's like, why even bother going to a sushi restaurant? Oh, I like the vibe, Like, I was down to go to a sushi restaurant because I can order other things. But these guys were getting sushi takeout. So I'm like, oh, never mind. I don't want any sushi anymore. Because I'm not going to burden these guys and ask them, all right, can you order me a bunch of, like, the cooked stuff off of the sushi menu? I'm not going to do that. And also, they wanted me to bring over the card games that they bought to keep at my place. Because, they usually crash at my place. So I had to go from work to home, grab the card games, and then drive all the way back out to my friend's house. And in the meantime, what I did was I just brought dinner from home. So I had a couple of to-go boxes, restaurant to-go boxes. So I packed rice, chicken wings we got from the grocery store, vegetables, and I had half of a leftover steak, so I just warmed that up and just packed it. Brought a knife and fork with me, and then I grabbed the card games and went over to my friend's house. By the time I got there, all 96 pieces of the sushi had been devoured by these big boys. So I was almost glad that 1, I brought my own food, and 2, that I didn't ask them to save me any. Because chances are, even if I asked them to save me some, they probably would have eaten it anyways. So because these big guys, they ate every speck of food, every crumb. These are big guys. They're still hungry. So they were arguing amongst themselves, like, should they order McDonald's? Should they get Uber Eats, or should they drive out to pick it up so it's cheaper? Like, what should they order? How much should they order? Amongst the chaos of them arguing amongst themselves, about McDonald's, I was off in the corner, sitting, eating at his ping pong table of all things. And I was just, knife and fork in hand, cutting a steak while my friends were arguing about McDonald's. It was like the funniest setting ever. I almost wanted to play the classical music that plays when Wilson Fisk is cooking his omelet, but I didn't know the name of the song. So yeah, I was literally sitting at my friend's ping pong table in his basement, using a knife and fork, cutting my steak, while these guys were arguing about what to get from McDonald's. It was the funniest thing ever. They were also arguing, like, driving literally down the neighborhood, because my friends live relatively close by. It would have been like a 2-minute drive, I kid you not. But like a 10-minute walk, They were also arguing, like, who's gonna drive over to Buddy's house to pick up the wine? Because, my friends drink, but I don't. So, they also did that. They brought over a big box of bagged wine with a little nozzle at the bottom to dispense it. And believe me, they guzzled down all the wine, every last drop. So last night we ended up playing Code Names. I feel like these fuckers just wanted me to bring them the card game. Because had I not gone, they would have had no card games to play. So yeah, it was pretty last minute, it was pretty abrupt. So that's why I didn't do any Dialga hunting last night, because I was abruptly out of nowhere called over by these fuckers. Taking up my plans for the night. At least we had a good time. For those who don't know, the game we played is Codename. So, for those who are familiar, my friend said, like, one word. The word was Cleopatra, and we had to figure out which one he was talking about. One of the cards was Alien, and I tried to piece it together. I tried to connect the dots. Well, Cleopatra, Egypt, the pyramids in Egypt were built by aliens. Connection there. So yeah, that's what happened last night. And then, last night to this morning, woke up at 6 a.m., dealt with my dogs, phone interview, so on and so forth. Which led to tonight, cleaned the dishes, cleaned my dog, and now I'm here. So I had another awful, pretty horrible idea that this time I don't know if I actually will go through with it or not. The idea is as bad as hunting 2 Zygardes for Legend ZA. So I kind of had the idea. Since right now I'm hunting all shiny legendaries for Legends Arceus, do I shiny hunt Arceus again? Now, my original plan was to not shiny hunt Arceus because I already did. I already have a shiny Arceus in my Legends Arceus game. But do I hunt for another? Let me think about it while I replay Brilliant Diamond and Legends Arceus. All jokes aside, like, if I don't decide to shiny hunt it, I realize that I forgot I still need to replay those games anyways. Because in my living decks, my Pokemon Home living decks, everything that I can, that I can help is in a regular Pokeball. There are certain mythicals that are impossible to get in Pokeballs as of this moment, like Hoopa, Volcanion, Zeraora, Some mythicals like those are impossible to get in regular Pokeballs. Certain mythicals you can. You can get Mew and Jirachi in Pokeballs in Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl for having save data of older games. You can get Keldeo in a Pokeball from the Sword and Shield DLC. Meloetta in a Pokeball from the Scarlet and Violet DLC. You can get Deoxys in a Pokeball from Oras and transfer it up before Pokemon Bank gets shut down. So there are certain Pokemon that you still can get in regular Pokeballs. One of which I never did, is Arceus. Because, I kinda don't really want to replay both games. Just to swap out my Cherish Ball event Arceus for an Arceus in a regular Pokeball. But it's something I will need to do eventually, right? So I do need to replay Brilliant Diamond and Legends Arceus at some point. It's just, do I shiny hunt Arceus and need to replay both games again? Or do I just call it? I already have a shiny Arceus in PLA. Ignore it and just catch a regular Arceus for my living decks and just be done with it. Now, the real heartbreaking thing is that Darkrai and Shaman, they're in Cherish Balls in my living decks. I didn't have the foresight to replay the games to redo the events in Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl when they were still available. So I didn't do that. So they're still in Cherish Balls. I need to wait for another opportunity. Unless I can figure out that Void thing in, regular Diamond game. In the regular Diamond game, get regular Diamond to get Darkrai through the Void glitch and transfer it up. I don't know how to do that for Shaman, if you even can. I guess I'll just need to be patient for like another 15, 20 years. There are Pokemon that you can get in Pokeballs only from Pokemon Go, like Diancie and Marshadow, Zarude. One day, I will transfer those to Pokemon Home so I can have them in regular Pokeballs for my living decks. And then, I need to replace them because the mainline games made them accessible, and I don't want the ugly G logo. But that's a different story. That's a different topic. So yeah, I'm debating. Do I shiny hunt Arceus again? Yes, no, yes, no. I need to replay both games anyways. You know what, speaking of Pokemon... Hold on, let me check the screenshot real quick, just to be sure. Because a couple days ago, I finally got a shiny female Ralts in my Brilliant Diamond. So I finally did it. I got a level 6 shiny female Kirlia. I got a level 6 shiny male Kirlia, which is now a Gallade. And I finally got a shiny female Ralts to evolve into a Gardevoir. Now the thing is, I still did not manage to successfully get a chain of 40 for Ralts. I got to a chain of 19, and there was a shiny patch. Hold on, let me look up the odds for that. Let's see, a combo of 19. The chances I got a shiny patch was 1 in 1,872. So obviously I caught the shiny Ralts, which was luckily female, and then I continued to try to get to a combo of 40. I think it broke at like 38 or 39. So to this day, I still did not ever successfully get a combo of 40 for Ralts. However, that's fine. because I got the shiny female Ralts I wanted. Hallelujah. Finally, this took so long. This took so many weeks. And in the meantime, I got a Curlia and a Gallade. And you know what? My luck with the genders have been pretty great. I first got a shiny female Curlia. And then I figured, well, if it manages again, chaining is too involved. So yeah, I got a female Curlia first. And then I figured if I managed to, I want to try to get a male Curlia to evolve into a Gallade. Yes, I got a male Curlia next. And then, you know, the whole point of me starting this hunt was to get a shiny female Gardevoir. So the Ralts I got was very luckily female. So I got what I wanted in exactly the genders that I wanted. So I was kind of riding high on my luck with getting the Pokemon I wanted in the genders I wanted. I was thinking, alright, after this Gardevoir hunt, which is finally over, up next, I am hunting for a Baltoy. And I was thinking, you know, I would love to get a male one so that the blue male symbol would match with the blue shiny. It will look perfect in a regular red Pokeball of all things. And then I remembered, wait a second, Baltoy doesn't even have a gender. Well, great, that makes it much easier for me. I don't have to worry. I can just get a shiny Baltoy and be done with it. Not gonna lie, a shiny Baltoy would actually look pretty sweet in a Quick Ball. But I don't roll like that. I only use regular Pokeballs. When you get a soft reset for a shiny Ralts for Wally, he deserves one too. You mean the shiny Ralts that will turn normal after that encounter? You know, had they actually made it to where if Wally caught a shiny Ralts, he actually would have a shiny Gallade throughout the game, maybe I would have reset it for that. That would have been cool to see. But they changed it. They made it so that it would change back. So what's the point? He'll be happy for that one battle, I swear. So today, I wanted to, you know, continue my Baltoy hunt by chaining, but there was a nose pass outbreak, so I figured, oh, I'll wait. I don't want to go through the hassle of changing the date, the Switch's time zone, and waiting for the date for the clock to roll past midnight. So instead of hunting for Baltoy today, what I did was I went into my Violet game and I did the hunt I said I wanted to do. Hunted for a Coaless, Mealess Rhydon. So I date skipped for a Rhydon outbreak. And even without a sandwich boost, not long after I got myself a shiny Rhydon. Sweet. Scarlet and Violet, I may not be able to get a shiny Koraidon or a Miraidon. I can still get a shiny Rhydon. You know, after this, I don't really have anything in mind to shiny hunt on my own. Like throughout the day, I don't really have anything in mind to shiny hunt. Which, great. It gives me plenty of time to replay Brilliant Diamond and Legends Arceus. I don't really want to replay those games. I actually would rather replay Brilliant Diamond than Legends Arceus. As crazy as that is, I'm actually not looking forward to replaying Legends Arceus. The game is just too grindy for my liking. Okay, before we talk about... We haven't even gotten to talk about the shows yet. I got so much to talk about today. So, before we talk about the shows, let me show you something real quick. Pay no attention to my disgusting screen. Actually, I probably should have opened it first. Give me a second. Man, the fact that I need to wake up so early tomorrow morning. Okay, so, check out what came in the mail today. You guys remember how a little while ago I showed you guys this here, and how this part here is broken? So, I finally ordered one online. I was hesitant to order it because on eBay it was $100. But then, thankfully, I held off because when I checked again, it was like half the price. So I purchased it on the spot, and it finally arrived today. So, if you look here, the one that's packaged, that's what it's supposed to look like. There's supposed to be a little hook there. You see that? That's what was broken off, and I don't think that's supposed to come off. So that's what's supposed to be there, a little hook. Oop. That's what was missing from this. You see that? You see? It was broken. There's no hook there. So, I purchased a new one that does not have the hook broken, as well as the fact that I now get a replacement this replacement sour key. So, money well spent, absolutely. So, yeah, I finally got a new one in the mail. And, well, in terms of what I'm gonna do with this old one, I don't know, maybe I'll keep this around as, like, a Christmas tree ornament. You know what's something I need to buy, assuming I get one of these two jobs that I'm in the running for? I need to buy myself a short sleeve dress shirt, or just a short sleeve button shirt, because summer's approaching, it gets hot, I get sweaty and stinky. Long sleeves definitely don't help. Even if I roll up the sleeve, it's not the same, right? So I need to go out and buy myself a short sleeve button-up shirt. Yeah, I gotta do that someday. Or, I gotta do that soon, not someday. And, well, once again, sad news. My fancy pants, my dress pants, doesn't fit anymore. Gee, what a surprise. Whenever I get a fancy pair of pants, I wear it once, and then I outgrow it the next time I need it. So I always need new pants. It's always the fancy ones that I outgrow, you know? It's never the comfortable, casual wear ones. It's always the important, expensive pants that I always outgrow. You're getting faster at that? For a second, I thought you meant getting faster at outgrowing my pants. But no, you meant faster at banning bots in the chat. Okay. Now that we got past, I'm pretty sure everything else I wanted to talk about, let's actually talk about... We don't have a lot of time left. Let's talk about these 3 shows real quick, if I even have time to talk about all of them. So we have Dead City, Season 2, Episode 3. We have The Boys, Season 3, Episode 3. Same thing with From. Alright, so Dead City, Season 2, Episode 3. Not gonna lie, a couple days ago I kind of forgot the episode was airing. Because, like I said, Sunday night, we were hosting a dinner. Keep in mind, I'm doing this with energy of having woken up at 6 in the morning. Alright, so Dead City. This episode we get a bunch of flashbacks to when Herschel was in custody of the Croat. When he was taken to lure in Negan. We see him and the Dama grow close, grow a friendship. I was scared. I was anxious. Because we know Herschel lost a toe. And at the end of Season 1, it was implied it was the Dama who cut off his pinky toe. So I was really scared of that, you know? It seemed like Herschel and Dama had a pretty good friendship, pretty good connection to start. But knowing Herschel loses his toe, I was afraid to see, like, what point in their relationship sours to the point Dama cuts off his freaking toe. But that does not happen. The Dama does not cut off his toe. At least we haven't seen who cut off his toe yet. What led to the point of, you know, him only having 4 toes left. So the Dama sympathizes with Herschel. And you can't really blame Herschel because what he says and feels is right. Maggie's hatred obsession with Negan gives almost no room for Herschel in her life. Not really. She is too obsessed with Negan. Herschel doesn't really care because, you know, his father was killed before he was even born. But Maggie, yeah, her hatred is kind of justified. So, let's see. So, our group, the new Babylonians, are now stuck on the island of Manhattan, and they're trying to get through the park. I'm not too sure if it's actually Central Park or not. It might be. And, well, these guys are not that smart. And when they're in a big group with a bunch of no-name background extras, you know that they're just, you know, they're just fuel for deaths. So they make it to the park. Another one of the, I guess, colonels for New Babylon, she dies instantly. Rather quickly, too. It was a swift death. She gets surprised, bitten by a walker, and then Pearlie just puts her down with a knife to the head. That was quick. She didn't really scream. Nothing happened. She just got bit on the neck and instantly died. You know, I'm starting to notice that, or I've noticed that a lot in the past several years of The Walking Dead. You know, it used to be like, you get bit by a walker, it's a slow, uncomfortable death. You get bit in the neck, you would at least struggle as you bleed out and, have trouble breathing. But then sometimes you get bit and you instantly die. Like, instantaneously. Well, whatever. They go through a big field, a giant field with really tall crops. And I'm just thinking, are you stupid? That's a horrible idea. And, yep. Going through the tall field, they get ambushed by walkers. A lot of people die. They die silently, as crazy as that is. No screaming, no struggle. They just get took by walkers and they die silently. So in the scuffle, Herschel gets separated, because of course the hell he does. Ginny actually drops her bag, fleeing for her life, but Herschel finds it. I forgot to mention in the previous episode that Ginny actually has a gun in her bag, so we'll have to see what that's about. Maybe she's gonna go try to find and assassinate Negan for killing her father. I saw that idea being thrown out there. So yeah, Herschel finds out that Ginny has a gun in her bag, but doesn't really ask her about it, not yet. Herschel actually gets saved by this random girl. I don't know if we learned her name in the episode. I think I saw the subtitle say her name was Joan. Well, Herschel's the only one who gets separated. Those who survive the giant field get welcomed in for shelter by this community, not really community, by this group at this, building that used to be a restaurant. So their whole deal is that they don't exist. They want nothing to do with anyone outside, especially the people living on Manhattan, the Barotzi. The way this person spoke kind of implied the Barotzi doesn't even know that they exist. I mean, they are shrouded by a big field, tall crops, surrounded by dead. Even the Croat himself said, it's a wasteland, a death trap. And speaking of Croat, hilariously, Croat and Negan literally set up a table in the middle of the street. Having, pheasant pate? Alright. What kills me the most is that they set up a table with a cloth and everything. Actual plates, knives, forks, really in the middle of the street? So, before that actually, Croat and this other guy, I think his name was Wayland? Or whatever, something like that. They are aware that Negan spared people from the boat. Because even Croat knows that, Negan draws a line at children. But then Croat, being the psycho that he is just don't worry. We encounter the child you spared, you won't have to be the one to kill it. Implying that the Croat will. And, don't forget, the Croat is more than willing to. We saw him in the flashback in Season 1 do just that to one of the kids from the Kingdom. Or even Simon got upset. That's how you know you screwed up. You piss off both Negan and Simon. Need I remind you what Simon did to the junkyard people? So yeah, Negan doesn't want Herschel to be killed. Because he feels guilty for what he did to not only his family, his father. Kind of tore apart the family, right? So Negan doesn't want Croat to get to Herschel first, otherwise he'll kill Herschel. So Negan volunteers to go in and search for the Babylonians to, really see if Herschel's alive and okay. Make sure no one gets to him. Croat's just Wayner, you go, or Wayland, you go with him. And then, we see that Wayland died pretty quickly. Or did he? Amazingly, he got away. He was indeed bit. He was indeed captured by a bunch of walkers. However, the dude is so tough, he actually got away. The clock was ticking, though, because he was bit, but he still got away. So Herschel sitting at that, like, I don't know what that place is called. That fountain with a view of the city skyline. Herschel sat there, drawing his picture. And then the girl who saved him showed up. So they talk back and forth. Waylon shows up, and he, with a staff, trips over Joan and stabs her in the leg with his staff. I'm not gonna lie, I couldn't help but notice that her screaming in pain was fake. It was dubbed over. At least that's what it looked like to me. Well, Waylon was about to do the same to Herschel, but then Negan comes and stabs him in the back, literally. Herschel sees Negan, fires a shot at him with Ginny's gun. You know, more like a warning shot over his head. But then Negan runs away, and Herschel helps the person who saved him. Let's see. Of course, Maggie is worried about her son. Shit, what the hell was this character's name? I hate her. It might be Lucia Navaraz. I think that was the character's name. Oh yeah, that's her. I'm just gonna call her Lucia. God, I hate this character. You know, her being a bitch, she wants to kind of take over this community that showed them hospitality and mercy. She's just like, Maggie only thinks about her son. That's all she ever thinks about. Well, no fucking shit! She's a single mother with a teenage son in the apocalypse. No shit, that's all she thinks about. I could say the same about you. All you think about is New Babylon. So yeah, she kind of wants to take over this little group by force, which is a horrible idea. She is so drunk on power. So keen on power. She wants to take over Manhattan and take the methane by force herself. The mission alone was supposed to be just a recon mission, but it then turned into her seizing power, seizing control of the methane herself. Like, that's gonna go good. A part of me wishes that Maggie would just, you know, kill her so we can be done with her shit. I don't think any of the soldiers that were recruited by New Babylon would really care that she's dead. Really snitch on Maggie. Maybe Armstrong would. Maybe. I don't know, man. If I was Maggie and she threatened my son, I may have done more than just punch her. But maybe if I just punched her at the spot, but then we were stranded on Manhattan, well, you dying. Or at the very least, you might be left behind. Anyways, so Maggie finds Herschel. They go back in, and this Joan character actually dies. I'm thinking, like, seriously? She died from that? Just a stab to the leg? Now, maybe you could argue blood loss or maybe infection. That infection happened pretty fast. I don't mean like walker infection. I mean like it was just a dirty stick in general. But I'm just thinking, like, seriously? She died from that? Alright, that is sad. It was revealed that, you know, she was just a fourth grader on a class trip when the dead started to walk. So I think fourth grade is about 10 years old. And in terms of timeline now, it's been like 17, 18 years since the outbreak first started. So this girl was almost 30. So sad that she died from a damn stab to the leg. And then the leader of this group, for some reason, with a sharp stone, just stabs the chest several times to breach it, to make a hole, and cuts out her heart. Because throughout the episode, we noticed walkers with holes in their chest where their heart was, and we didn't know what that was about until now. So whenever a member of their group dies, they cut out their heart for some reason. They cut out their heart and then feeds it to the walkers outside, letting their own die, turn to walkers, which, protects them. The walkers outside protects them from other people from getting close. Now, the strangest part of the episode to me was when everyone started to moan when she was about to cut open the heart, or cut out the heart. They were all like, like they were all moaning. I'm just like, what the hell? Maybe it was some sort of like ritual I'm not aware of, but it was weird, right? It was kind of unnecessary. I don't know. I feel like the episode would have been good without it. Would have been fine without the moaning. Instead, they just watch as their fellow community member gets her heart taken out because she's dead. As a tradition, without the moaning. I don't know, maybe that's just me. Well, Negan going back to Croat. He's just like, there was an accident. You were right. That place is a wasteland. A death trap. If someone as big as Waylon fell as fast as he did, then the Babylonians are sure as dead. The Croat notices blood on Negan's hand, implying it was not an accident. But the Croat seems to just give Negan a big pass all the time. Instead of confronting Negan, he just hands him a cloth. It's like, well, accidents happen. So we also see in the flashbacks that Herschel and Dama actually did grow close. They shared a bond, connecting through the way that they feel about the world. To the point, Herschel actually does see the Dama's vision for Manhattan. That everyone else sees it as a broken city, a destroyed city, the beauty of it gone. But Herschel actually sees that the city is better this way. And that he sees the Dama's vision, that it can be restored to something beautiful, something great again. So Herschel actually does share the Dama's beliefs to some extent. Now I'm starting to think, maybe it was the Croat who cut off Herschel's toe. We know that the Croat has no reservations to doing such things, and we see that the Dama had a pretty close connection with Herschel. So anyways, the Dama gives Herschel a room of his own with a bunch of paintings, lamps, and lights that actually work because of electricity. And one of the coolest things that I'd never seen is the fact that his room was in an elevator. So Herschel's room can go up to see the view. That's a pretty cool idea. That's a big ass elevator if I'm gonna add. That's a huge elevator, right? It had enough for like a bed with room. A bed, a table, a lamp. That's a huge elevator. What was it like a? Was it like an auto shop? Like a not an auto shop, like a auto show kind of building where they needed elevators big enough to lift up and down cars? Possibly. Also in the episode, we did once again hear a big roar, implying the bear that we saw in the trailer. Whether or not that bear is a walker bear or just a living bear with scars is yet to be seen. Once again, because if it really is a zombie bear, that's huge. You know? We've never seen an animal turn before. We see animals be devoured, and then we've seen animals die from the infection but never turn, never come back. So to see a bear maybe come back thanks to the wildfire virus, that's pretty huge. And of all things, why a bear, you know? Why not any other animals? Well, I guess the same could be said for, like, why only humans and no other animals? Well, for the most part, that's episode 3 of Dead City Season 2. I'm going straight to bed after this. I need to wake up early tomorrow. And I woke up early today as well. You know what the shittiest part about getting a job is right now? Like, I have 2 different jobs I'm lining up to try and get. The shittiest part about both of them is the schedule. Because I know my schedule right now is pretty lax compared to pretty much anyone else out there, majority-wise. For the most part these days, well, not these days, for the most part, the norm for me is waking up at 10 in the morning. I leave the house at 11. And then, you know, we close around 6:30 to 7. So that's a pretty lax schedule. But these new jobs that I'm applying for, say I actually get them. One of them starts at 9, so that means I need to wake up around like 7:30 to 8. The other one starts at 10. So, you know, just push that back an hour. I need to wake up at like 8:30-ish. That's a pretty big difference compared to the 10 a.m. I'm used to waking up at. Waking up at like 7:30 or 8:30, depending on which job it is. The job interview I'm going in for tomorrow, the schedule for that would be 9 to 6. So that's even longer than a 9 to 5. This is what you gotta do for money in this world. It's survival, because money leads to food, to shelter, to bills being paid. This is survival. Of course I don't want to do this. Of course I don't want to get a job. Of course I don't want to work. But that's just not the world we live in. Of course I want to stay home, play games and watch shows, not work. But, you know, that's just not the world we live in. because we live in a society. I just hope an ad doesn't play. Alright, let's real quick talk about The Boys, because I still got From to talk about. So, The Boys, Season 3, Episode 3. Oh, where to start? So Huey goes back to our characters, the boys, and he has a plan to make sure that Victoria Newman isn't suspicious of him. So he asks Kimiko to break his arm. If he's injured, he can't go to work, so he can freely go and investigate and do other stuff. And, you know, I think Frenchie even offers him like painkillers, but he's just like, no, that we cannot fail a urine test, a drug test. So he has to have his arm broken without any painkillers, voluntarily. So Kimiko just snaps his arm. Ouch, right? Let's see. Frenchie meets up with Sherry again. Haven't seen her in a while. And, you know, she's on the run because a job didn't go well. A job went south. With this new Nina character. So, Sherry's on the run. She's leaving. Frenchie has a duty to stay here, so he can't go with her. And Frenchie, let's see. He also gets a bunch of guys roll up and take Frenchie to go see this little Nina character. So there's some history there that we're gonna have to see play out later on, because I think this is the first time we've heard of this character. Even in Frenchie's backstory with Lamplighter, we didn't hear anything about this character. I forgot to mention too, previous episode when Butcher killed Gunpowder. Gunpowder actually revealed, you know, asked the CIA for information about Soldier Boy. Butcher's like, who was the commanding officer? Mallory. It was Grace Mallory. So this episode they go and see Grace. Ask her about Soldier Boy. So Grace starts telling her backstory about when she was younger, her encounter with the Paybacks, so Soldier Boy, Crimson Countess, a younger Black Noir. We finally see him without his mask, and speaking as well. We also see a young Stan Edgar. So anyways, I think like the Russians attacked them. They killed Soldier Boy with the supposed super weapon, took his body. They also extremely disfigured half of Black Noir's face, so that's why he always keeps a mask on. Not gonna lie, Black Noir has more aura to him, more of a threatening presence with the mask on and pure silent. Well, while Mallory was telling her story, Butcher had to cut her off and leave to use the bathroom. is because he's having withdrawals from taking V24. Well, Ryan's able to tell. Ryan said, like, your heart's beating faster, your blood tastes different, you know, stuff like that. So Ryan can tell something's wrong with Butcher. You know, MM is also like, you know that Soldier Boy killed my family. So everyone's pretty pissed at Mallory for hiding this stuff, because had she revealed it sooner, maybe they could have found this super weapon, killed Homelander earlier, so Ryan doesn't have to fear his father, and perhaps Becca would still be alive. So everyone's pretty pissed at Mallory for this. Well, when they're leaving, Butcher completely snaps at Ryan. So, you know, doing that thing where you piss him off so that he doesn't want to see you again, distancing yourself from that person so you can protect the person. Everyone sees Butcher as a dick for doing that. Huey, though, understands. As Huey tries to talk with Butcher, it's like, I get it. I understand why you did that. And as Huey was trying to comfort his friend, Butcher just throws up on him. I could not help but laugh at that. It was so unexpected. It was so out of nowhere. He was just like, just stunned, silently stunned, and then just shouts, "What the fuck?" I could not help but laugh at that. That was just so funny. And they don't even cut back to that. Like, that's the last we see of Huey and Butcher in the episode. Butcher throwing up on Huey. Well, on the Vought side of the story, so Homelander's still reeling from his public outbreak of no longer wanting to be controlled by Vought. So when Ashley goes and talks to Homelander, first of all, he's butt-ass naked. Ashley says, everyone loved you being honest. And I think maybe Homelander was jacking off at the same time Ashley was telling him that. Jacking off to the idea that people loved the real him. I don't know. Maybe. So we see, especially in this season compared to the first two, Homelander grow ever so unhinged and unstable. So this episode we see, you know, we see the Deep, we see Supersonic. The Deep is getting back into the 7, but obviously Starlight's pretty not happy with that. They were doing that like superhero game show kind of thing, where obviously it's kind of rigged, where Supersonic was going to be picked. There were 2 more contestants. Starlight wanted this one person. Homelander's just like, you really think I would let a Muslim into the 7? Despite Starlight saying like she's the best candidate, the most qualified. So they already know that they're gonna pick Supersonic to join the 7, and then they're gonna try to welcome back the Deep into the 7. The Deep and his wife have some hot sex in the Deep's room, and while Deep is screwing his wife, he looks up at an octopus in the fish tank, and he is just aroused by the octopus. He's just like, oh yeah? You like that? You're all wet. You're gonna jerk me off with all your arms? She's just like, wait, what? All my arms? Peacemaker's right about the Deep being a fish fucker, but not Aquaman. Aquaman's sick of that rumor. And then we find out later on, well, first of all, that octopus is male, so that doesn't help. That actually makes it worse. So, Homelander is having a dinner with Ashley, the Deep, and his wife. So they're having a dinner to welcome the Deep back into the Seven, and Homelander serves the Deep seafood, lobster. I'm just thinking, like, what's the problem? Us land dwellers, we eat land animals. What's wrong with the Deep eating sea creatures? Well, I know people make the argument, just like with Aquaman, King of the Sea eats technically eats like his subjects. Again, I don't really see too much wrong with that, you know? Like, we land dwellers eat land animals, why can't a person from the sea eat sea animals? Like, I don't think the Deep is vegan, and I think the Deep is more than happy to eat meat that came from the land. Oh, but suddenly eating seafood, that's not allowed. That is haram. That's not halal. So Homelander, having the, you know, the very evil aura that he does, serves the Deep the octopus named Timothy. And then Deep's just like, oh no, it's my friend, it's Timothy. He's begging for his life. He has children. And I just couldn't help but think, he? So you are aroused by a male octopus? You sicko. I gotta say, the CGI was pretty good. At least when it was on the plate. You have to keep in mind, this is a streaming series budget, not a movie budget, and it was daytime CGI. So it was pretty good. The octopus on the plate, the CGI was pretty good. It got a little sketchy when the Deep was putting the octopus into his mouth, because CGI with a real life person, it kind of doesn't work all the time. It's especially hard to make CGI look realistic next to a real person without like the big movie budgets. So the octopus looked pretty good on the plate. Once the Deep was putting the octopus into his mouth, then it got a little wonky. You know what that scene reminded me of? There is exactly that same scene in American Dad when Haley ate an octopus. She had her meat purge day. Let's see. Starlight, I forget under what context, I already forgot. She threatens Homelander with the flight video, the video from season 1 of Homelander just leaving everyone in the plane to die willingly. And so I finally get to see the context behind this meme moment. Homelander's just like, do it, release it, let's light this candle, huh? If you release it, I'll lose everything, but then I'll have nothing to lose. So I finally get to see the context behind this meme moment. And you know what? Homelander's right. He loses everything, he has nothing to lose. He can just waste New York City just for fun. And once again, that's another reference, that's another line they used as a reference in Mortal Kombat 1. Fighting Shao Kahn, or General Shao. You know, it's like, after we're done, I'm wasting your entire army just for fun. So Annie knows that if she does that to Homelander, it'll actually be worse. So she has no leverage against Homelander. So Starlight tries to warn Supersonic to not accept being part of the Seven because Homelander is growing more and more unstable. Homelander has threatened Starlight's life several times. It would just be bad for Supersonic to join the team. Like, for the safety of yourself and your family, don't accept and leave. Supersonic, no, he does not. Because he wants to have Starlight's back. He wants to back her up going through this. Trying to take down Homelander, you know? So he stays to back up Starlight. There was a small scene with A-Train going with his brother. Ooh. Music's just about done. So yeah, there was a scene with A-Train and his brother. They were just sitting on the porch chatting. Nobody likes his new suit. I don't like it either. It's ugly. And well, there was like this this online news report of someone wrongfully killing a black person. So A-Train's brother tries to inspire him to inspire himself. It was a small scene that didn't really go much in this episode, so probably see that in the next episode. And for the most part, I think that's it for the boys. What other music can I put on? You know what, we're hunting Dialga, let's play this. I still want to play this game, by the way, but I just can't get my hands on it. Unless I want to fork over a couple $100. Alright, allow me to talk about From, and then that'll be all I have to talk about today. Kind of speed running this as I am quickly losing energy. I'm going straight to bed after this. Not only am I sleep deprived, I also need to wake up early tomorrow. And don't forget everything else I did tonight. Did the dishes, bathed my dog. That's a lot of work. Alright, let's talk about From. Something I forgot to mention at the end of the last episode is that Boyd plans to capture one of those things. Capture one of the monsters. And I'm just like, finally. It took you long enough to think about that. In this episode, they kind of discuss it. Boyd and Ellis, they discuss it. Boyd hatches a plan. You know, if the talismans keep them out of the houses, what if it keeps them from leaving a house? Like it keeps them trapped inside. So Boyd's plan is to lure one of the monsters indoors and trap it indoors with the talisman. Now, there's a pretty big step 2 to that. That is, you're now outdoors, you need to find somewhere safe. So that's a pretty big concern. So Donna walks into the conversation of Boyd wanting to capture one of them, and she brings up a good point. Boyd's just like, we capture it, we make it talk. You know? It's like, we know those things can talk, we capture one and we make it talk. Donna brings up a good point. How? We shot those things point blank with shotguns, and all it did was make them smile. Part of me's thinking, like, what happens if you grab an axe and chop off one of its arms? Does it feel pain? In a way, not really. Probably not. Considering bullets make them smile. And we've seen them cut one open before, and there's no blood flow. Everything inside's all shriveled up organs. I also forgot to mention this at the end of the last episode. So, Julie and Ethan are going to the barn, going to see the animals, right when it's about to get late and go dark. Jim's just like, alright, don't be too late, you know, hurry back soon. End of the episode, Jim gets a phone call, and at the other line, it's Thomas. So at this episode, Jim answers the phone, so it's like, you're not my son. Stop calling me that. Stop calling me dad. And so the voice on the line is just like, you really shouldn't let Julie and Ethan out so late. And that spooks Jim, because both his children are out there. And I'm just thinking, from the past episode, Jim, you stupid man. You do not let your kids out when it is almost dark. At the very least, go with them. Do not just let them go when it's close to dark. That's a horrible decision. For the most part, inside the town, our characters go back to that log cabin they found, and they grab more resources. They grab more food. So it's mostly Kenny, Christy, Jade, that annoying guy who accidentally stabbed Ellis, a couple of background characters we don't really care about. I think their plan was to pack up as much food as they can, but spend the night there at the cabin with the talisman up. Because Jade later on, he wants to go back to town, and they're just like, if you run, you might make it back to like a checkpoint before it gets dark. I'm just like, how far did you guys go? Where if you run, you might be able to make it to a checkpoint before it gets dark. So anyways, Jade, he doesn't really fit in with anyone else. He kind of butt heads with that annoying guy. So Jade walks off to take a piss. There was, for some reason, a really close-up shot of Jade pissing. Alright. Jade's urine was very yellow. Man needs to drink some more water. Lay off that homemade booze. And then Jade, once again seeing things, he sees this guy stabbed through the eye. So Jade is freaking out, but nobody else sees it. So Jade wants to leave. As Jade is running back to the town, Christy actually walks over a bear trap. Because why the hell wouldn't there be a bear trap just randomly out there, buried by snow? So now they have a problem. Christy is stuck in a bear trap and it's getting dark soon. Bear traps have a release hatch. However, supposedly the bear trap was so old and rusty, the release just came right off. So they need to find something to pry it open with. Well, no surprise, eventually they do indeed get Christy free, though her leg is pretty messed up. Not only did she have a bear trap through her leg, her ankle was also dislocated, so she is pretty injured. If this was The Walking Dead, that's a very easy sign that she's going to die. Let's see. In the town, Victor goes and sees Sarah wanting to build a fort so he can tell a story. Not much happens there. Not yet, at least. Fatima, she still eats rotten food, and that old lady notices, and she gets it. She said that when she was pregnant with her first kid, she licked eggshells as a craving. Alright. Fatima's scared out of her mind. Understandably so. She wasn't even able to conceive, and now she's having a kid in this awful place with very, very little medical resources. So the old lady offers to see if the baby really is okay with tarot cards. Fatima at first takes offense to this, but then goes along with it. During the tarot card reading, not only one bird crashes into a window, another bird just breaks clean through the window. So now there is a ravenous raven just going crazy inside. Hey, I see this as an absolute win. That bird can now be food. And you know what, speaking of food, so inside Colony House, one girl was cooking up a steak. A huge steak. I'm just like, shouldn't you ration that? I know there's a lot of people, so I hope that one steak ain't just for you. You know, I hope you're gonna cut it up into bite-sized pieces and serve to everyone. Because winter's coming for who knows how long, right? Supposedly, over the decades that Victor's been here, it's never been winter before. So who knows how long winter will last? So I hope you're rationing out that food and not just treating yourself to a nice juicy medium rare steak just because you feel like it. Boyd setting up a trap inside the church. And while that's happening, he hallucinates Father Cautry again. Not much to say about that. Anyways, the Matthews family is losing hope quickly that Tabitha's still alive, because it's been days and she hasn't returned. So, you know, obviously they would conclude that she's probably dead. However, unknowingly to them, they don't know that Tabitha's alive, because outside of the town, Tabitha and Victor's father, I forgot what his name was. Part of me is thinking his name is Frank. I don't think it's Frank. Victor's father reveals that, you know, there's a tree outside in the backyard with bottles hung up, just like the bottles that they saw in that place. But that's not the original one. There's an original tree with bottles that Victor's parents did hang up bottles at when they were younger, just a fair distance away, like a half an hour drive away. So Tabitha asked Victor's father to drive her there. Tabitha hasn't really had much sleep or anything to eat. So in the car ride, Victor's father's just like, there's crackers in the glove compartment to hold you off. Oh wait, before that, as I got in the car, I think the song Blues came on. It wasn't only Tabitha's and Jim's wedding song, or their song. It was also the song of Victor and Victor's mother. What? Victor? Of Victor's parents, his mother and father. Strange coincidence, but okay. Well, when Tabitha opened the glove compartment to find the cracker, she also notices the bracelet. The bracelet that she made Jim all those years ago. The bracelet that she found in the town in season 1. She asked Victor's father, how did he get this? And he's just like, oh yeah, my wife made that for me years ago. Okay, so something's not adding up now. Now something's really not right. Tabitha's just like, no, this isn't right. I'm not really out. This is just more of that place messing with my mind. So Tabitha just is going crazy. She doesn't believe anything's real anymore. She's just like, stop the car. What happens if I get out of this car? What happens if I get out of this car? Victor's father isn't having it. He's just like, you randomly come into my life. Tell me my son is alive, and then you cannot just randomly, abruptly leave without telling me anything else. We're going to that tree, especially because we're so close to it. The car pushes forward a little bit. Well, they get T-boned, so they get into a car accident. Tabitha wakes up in the back of an ambulance with two paramedics and, the guy driving the ambulance. Victor's father is knocked out cold. Well, the paramedics recognize, so, you're the woman with the lunchbox. We've had patrols set up outside the hospital, just keeping watch. Alright, we're gonna bring you back to the hospital. But on the way to the hospital, the ambulance stops because they see the tree on the road. Holy shit, Tabitha is like the most ungodly, unlucky person ever. To arrive in this place, to begin with, to be set free and leave this place, only to get back into there. Tabitha's like the most unlucky person ever to end up at this place twice. That is abysmal luck. Then again, obviously there's some other force at play. The little boy in white, she could still see him when outside. Things weren't adding up. Because a lot of things that Tabitha saw inside the town, she was noticing outside the town. It was kind of like two things. One, you notice how in backrooms videos online, you see inside the backrooms have resemblance to the outside world? It was kind of like that. Like, how did this item from the real world get here into the backrooms? And two, well, I'm starting to think like the stuff in the town are self-actualized. You think of something and then the town actually materializes it. So Victor's parents did the thing where there's a bunch of bottles hanging from a tree, and then a bunch of other stuff, the bracelet, the music. So maybe Victor is self-actualizing all of it into existence. Or someone is. It's kind of like in Lucifer, this TV show. You self-actualize, and it really happens. Like how Amenadiel felt like he had lost favoritism from God and was being punished by having his wings lost. But no, he was just doing that to himself. Have you guys seen Lucifer, by the way? It's a really great show. We were lucky enough to get 6 seasons, because the show got canceled after 3, and then Netflix saved it for seasons 4, 5, and 6. It wasn't even planned to have 6 seasons, let alone 4. So, you know, after season 4, we got season 5, and then it was announced season 6 would be it. I have not watched last season, though I think I know the ending. The sad part is, long ago, I heard rumors of some sort of Lucifer continuation project, maybe a Lucifer film, though I don't think that's happening. Not only because of how long it's been, but also because, you know, James Gunn is now running DC Studios. And I don't think James Gunn wants to do an Elseworlds film for a Netflix show that lasted for 6 seasons. So, I think the chances, any chances of a Lucifer film is dead. You know what I might still have a teensy bit of hope for? Which this actually might still have a chance at all. That being the potential animated continuation series for Smallville. Now, yeah, Smallville lasted 10 goddamn seasons, so it doesn't really need to continue. But it could. Michael Rosenbaum, as well as Tom Welling, have said they would like to do an animated continuation. That'd be cool to see, actually. An animated season 11, because discard the season 11 comic book. Anyways, I think for the most part, that's all I have to say for From. You know what I think Superman as a character proves? To me, Superman proves that a character as big as him absolutely works as TV. We have now had, basically, I'm just saying live action, by the way. We have now had 2, well, modern-wise, 2 live-action Superman TV shows. So I'm not talking like the Clark and Lois show from back in the day. We've had Smallville, as well as Superman and Lois. 2, quote-unquote, modern-day Superman shows. Yes, Smallville's 20 years old. And Superman and Lois just ended. Superman on TV works. I've been saying for so long, can you imagine just how beneficial it would be to have like a fully budgeted, legitimate Spider-Man TV show? Or even a Batman TV show? And I'm not talking Gotham. Like an actual Bruce Wayne television show where he suits up as Batman, dealing with, you know, the rogues, dealing with the villain of the week. Like a fully legitimate, high-budget, but Batman show. And a Spider-Man show. Superman proves that. Superman on TV works. Imagine how well a Batman show or a Spider-Man show would be. But that's never gonna happen because Sony and DC only sees those characters as big budget money printers. Not worth investing so much money into a show when they can invest that much money into a movie for probably more return. I feel a headache, by the way, and I need to go to bed so that I can wake up early tomorrow. About 10 more minutes. About 10 more minutes so that I can hit the 2-hour mark. Maybe I'll get the shiny Dialga in that time. Anyways, what was I talking about? Oh crap, hold on. Let me see if there's any lights for me to turn off. Hold on. No, there was not. Ugh. Alright, so today I sped ran through Dead City, The Boys, From... You know what's another show I forgot? I mentioned I wanted to watch but haven't seen yet? On top of Monarch and Ted, Edge of Sleep. I completely forgot about that too. I need to check that out at some point. Ugh, just so much for me to watch. Not enough time. And if I actually get one of these jobs, that gives me even less time. And then there's more shows coming out, like the trash that is Ironheart soon. Peacemaker Season 2 is coming out in the summer. We don't have an official release date for Season 3 of Daryl Dixon just yet, though it should be in the fall, obviously after Dead City. Crazy to think at the moment, there is only 2 Walking Dead shows airing on TV. Now, I know that's how it was back then, when all we had was the main Walking Dead show, as well as Fear the Walking Dead. That was only 2 Walking Dead shows. But those shows were big. Those were bigger. Those shows had 16 episode seasons, as opposed to now. Dead City has 8, and Daryl Dixon might have 6 still. Oh, right, I remember something I needed to talk about. So previously, I discussed the film Sinners. It turns out there was an entire ending scene that my friends and I missed. The moments the credits rolled, we left the theater. Well, excuse me for not thinking that every movie these days would be like a Marvel movie with an end credits, post-credits scene stinger. So we didn't know there was an ending scene after the credits. So when the credits rolled, we just assumed the film was over and we left. So I did watch online the ending scene that I missed. So I wanted to discuss that small little scene as well. And also, turns out that scene with Haley Steinfeld drooling into Michael B. Jordan's mouth, man, that really was the scene that they had to reshoot over and over. I thought my friend was kidding. But no, that really was the scene they had to reshoot. People would say that Michael B. Jordan is lucky. You know, I bet Shamik Moore would really say he's lucky. Man, there's this one meme going around, and this meme has layers to it, if you get it. It's the meme of Homelander staring at the screen with a ringing sound, and the caption is just Shamik Moore watching Sinners in IMAX, or like 70mm IMAX. In case you don't get the joke, Shamik Moore and Haley Steinfeld, they voiced Miles Morales and Gwen Stacy. Shamik Moore really tried to get with Haley Steinfeld behind the scenes. I can't blame the guy entirely. But like, she just wasn't having it. So watching Sinners, watching his co-star get pounded, as well as drool into another guy's mouth in the film, watching that on screen... That's probably how he reacted, was how Homelander was watching the screen. So anyways, the ending scene for Sinners, we see Sammy in the 80s now, you know, old. So 50 years has passed. The majority of the film took place in the 30s. Now it's the 80s. So 50 years has passed, and Sammy is all old now. It's after the show. He's still at the bar. So the bouncer, I guess, lets in 2 more people who were insistent on meeting Sammy. Sammy's just like, alright, sure, let them in. It's none other than Stack and Mary. 50 years later, still vampires and still alive or undead. Sammy's just like, how? I thought you died 50 years ago. So it turns out that Smoke made his vampire brother promise. If you don't go after our little cousin, I won't kill you by stabbing you in the heart with this wooden stake. If you don't go after our cousin, then I don't kill you. And Mary, turns out, before the sun came up, she just ran into the woods, avoiding sunlight. So, turns out those two survived. Those two survived and have been vampires this whole time. So, Stack and Mary, well, Stack himself, said, like, that day 50 years ago, that was the last time I saw the sun. That was the last time I saw my brother. Because I think Smoke died. He got hit with a bullet, and then he was hallucinating, seeing Annie as well as his kid, who both died. So I think Smoke died as well. Man, that's sad to think. Stack didn't see his brother for 50 years, because he died. And also didn't see the sunlight for that long, too. So technically, Evil did get attracted to Sammy's musical talent once again. However, it was more of like a peace offering. So they came and saw Sammy just to basically say goodbye to him. Sammy's just like, you know what? Before that night, the day before that night, I think was the best day of my life. So then, Stack and Mary, they just go off into the dark. They leave, and then that's where the movie properly ends. Neat. So there's the scene that I forgot to mention. Oh, alright. Couple more resets, and then I'm done. I'm gonna go immediately to bed. Man, I gotta wake up tomorrow. I got a job interview at 9:20 in the morning. So I gotta wake up earlier than that to prepare. To get ready for the day. All I'm hoping is, after that's done, let's say it takes an hour, I get back around like 10:30. I could just hop back into bed and rest. My mom and sister can go into the store. They handle things while I get some sleep. And then when I wake up, let's see if it's even busy for me to go out or not. Let's see if I even need to go out. I wake up, let's say, I don't know, I get enough sleep. I wake up at like 2 p.m. It's like, oh, it's already the afternoon and it's not busy. Just don't even come out today. Wouldn't that be nice? Well, it's seeming like no shiny Dialga tonight either, which is fine. You know, if I do decide to shiny hunt Arceus again, it would be much slower resets as well as full odds. Because the shiny charm in that game is worthless. Wow, this is worthless. It is beyond worthless. Okay, last reset, and then I'm going to bed. Alright, no shinies tonight. I'll see you guys next time.